Henry, welcome to Drunk Comics. Air cheers. I think you're frozen.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Do you want to tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yep, sure. My name is Henry Wentworth. I'm from London, England. I am technically, I suppose you can say, an aspiring filmmaker, but yep. And now I'm going to be talking about a comic that I really love.
That is great. Okay, so how did you get into like comics and superheroes?
How did I? Okay, I do remember this. I was 13 and I went to a comic shop in London and I've never bought a comic before. I'd seen a couple of superhero films. I'd seen Batman, I'd seen Superman, but I'd never read a comic before. And a guy said to me, "You might like this." And it was the very, very first issue of Kick-Ass by Mark Miller.
Nice.
I read it and I absolutely loved it. And I started collecting that series. And then from there, I'd liked the Batman films. So I started to read Batman comics. I started to read Superman. And I fell in love with the whole thing.
Very nice. And what comic are you here to talk about today?
Here to talk about Alan Moore and Brian Bolland's masterpiece, Batman: The Killing Joke.
Very nice. All right. So where does the story start?
Where does the story start? Okay, right. The story starts in Arkham Asylum with Batman going to meet the Joker. And it's revealed to be a fake, and the Joker is broken out. And the story is essentially the backstory of the Joker, how the man who he was became the man that he now is, and him trying to. The theme of the comic is it only takes one bad day to a person absolutely insane. So he tries to turn Commissioner Gordon totally insane, and I'm not sure if I'll spoil it, but or do you want it? I'm happy to do so.
If you're watching this,
Spoilers are allowed.
I read The Killing Joke. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, you'd hope they're allowed.
Yeah.
But indeed, Gordon does get away, and it's a very ambiguous ending, which I'm sure we'll get into. But in a way, it's kind of the end of the story, but maybe it isn't. But I'm sure we'll get into the ending because I do have my theory on how it ends.
Yes. We will definitely get into the ending. Okay. So, what does he do to Gordon?
It's arguably, I think we can say, one of the worst things he's ever done. Possibly the worst thing he's ever done. What does he do? He first off shoots Barbara, his daughter, and cripples her. He then takes him to an amusement park, I think you could say, a rundown kind of ghost ride.
Where else would
strips him naked. Oh yeah, well, it's Joker. Of course he would do something like that. And takes him on a ghost train while showing him pictures of his crippled daughter. Yeah, in various states of undress. So
super gross.
I think we can say probably one of the worst things he's ever done. It's pretty horrendous. He's pretty horrendous in this one.
Horrible. And I remember Alan Moore being mad that they made it canon that Babs was crippled because he was like, I was just trying to write an Elseworld story. What the fuck, guys? Though,
yeah,
I give John.
But she becomes an oracle. But you feel. Yes.
I give Jen Ostrander credit for her becoming Oracle.
I love John Ostrander. I really do. I love that run as well, where she makes it, because I've always felt you protective towards Barbara. She's young, she's 16, 17, and when that happens to her, you feel more protective towards her because it's a horrendous thing that happens. But they turn it into something good. They turn it into a positive role model for people.
Oh, so amazing. I got the chance to meet Jen Ostrander and tell him how much the Oracle story meant to me, and it was like definitely my top 10 meetings with celebrities.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm counting him as a celebrity. I don't care. All y'all comics writers are celebrities.
Absolutely.
So I dropped like 3 F-bombs already. So yeah, this is not a kid's show.
Fuck it.
Thank you. Okay. So go on with the story. So what else
Gone with the
happened?
story. Well, it's intercut with, if you ask me, is it the definitive? Yeah, okay, to me it is the definitive backstory for the Joker. It turns out he is an aspiring comedian who is quite literally laughed off the stage, but not in the way he wants to be. So he attempts to get in with local gangs to pay for his, let me get this right, pregnant wife. And his wife dies. His wife dies, taking their unborn child with him. So this guy just feels like he has nowhere to go anymore. And on the job that they do, he's dressed up as, oh, this is such a great moment. He's dressed up as the Red Hood as a means of distraction for the rest of the gangsters.
Who recognizes that name? Sorry.
I mean, you should. I'll just say you should recognize that name because the Red Hood is amazing.
That name and the significance of that name. That's a whole other episode. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. But it's as I say, it's a distraction for the Bat. And in running away from him, he falls into a vat of toxic waste. And when he emerges, takes the mask off. He looks at his reflection. His lips are red. His face is white. His hair's green. He starts laughing, and he doesn't really stop laughing.
No, he hasn't become Snow White. Oh wait, this is comics. Is that a fairy tale, babe?
Oh, this is not a fairy tale. This is a very fucked up fairy tale. This is a fairy tale.
Granted, the original fairy tales were very fucked up. It's just Disney that made them. You know.
Oh, those Brothers Grimm, yeah, they were strange people.
Someday in another life, I'll do a podcast on that.
That'll take hours to get through, but
oh yes.
No, on to where does the Killing Joke go from there? So it's actually quite a short story. If you read it, then the actual story of it isn't actually that long. But I do believe that when it was originally released, it was just one issue. It was a one-off. But yep, and it goes through back into the story of Gordon. The Bat does track him down. He doesn't succeed. He doesn't succeed at turning Gordon absolutely insane, even though you kind of feel like he probably should have. I mean, I've always felt that he probably should have lost it at that point. And the best.
That's good that he didn't, because the moral of the story is that it doesn't take one bad day to turn you into a raving psychopath that will murder people.
True. I mean, you gotta look at it as the optimistic side, but I think it's also very bittersweet at the same time, like the things that do happen in this comic. But of course, for me, arguably the best moment of the comic is the idea that when he finishes telling his story about what made him the way he is, he then says, "But maybe it wasn't that. Maybe that wasn't how I became this way." And there's the great line. Sometimes I remember it this way. Sometimes I remember it that way. If I'm going to have a past, I prefer it to be a multiple choice. And that is the Joker. That is perfectly exactly what the Joker is. Just, you don't know who he is. You can't pin him down. It could be anyone.
This is why I feel like we don't need a Joker backstory. Like,
me neither. Definitely not.
We need a multiple choice backstory where he just tells the story and he's like, yep, maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
I'd like there to be. I've always thought there should be like a 6-part miniseries, like 20-minute episodes maybe, and every single one, same actor in a different scenario, and it finally ends with the final one being him as Joker. And he just says, maybe it was all of those, but maybe it wasn't. Who cares?
Ooh. Someone call HBO.
There could be an animated. That could be an animated series. Definitely. That could work.
I'd be way more interested in that than something that's like definitively, yes, this is the Joker backstory. I'm not interested in that. I don't want that.
No.
Don't take away the mystique of the character.
No. Yeah. Especially as we know everything about every other villain. Like, we always get the origin story. Dent gets his face scarred. Harley, I mean, well, we know exactly what happens to Harley because it happens through Joker. And of course, the Bat, like, we know exactly what that story is. Let's leave him ambiguous.
And you know what? I feel like nowadays storytellers think you have to make all your villains sympathetic. Sometimes A great villain just needs to be mysterious and evil just because he's evil. Maybe he is.
It's why, I mean, it's why I've always been stunned when I see people with like Joker artwork like tattooed on them and stuff. And I'm just like, I'm sitting there like, you do realize you've got a psychopath, a murderer, in certain comics, a rapist, a anarchist, like lots of things you don't really want to be supporting. But he is just so compelling. And you're right, he shouldn't be, there should be nothing sympathetic about him. They just shouldn't. Just make him bad. Just make him the bad guy. He is the essential bad guy. There's no one better than him. He is the greatest villain, I think.
And that's okay. Like, it's okay to have a bad guy who's just
Yeah.
like, fuck, he's mean and evil, and we just want to see him.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he makes the hero better because the hero is always trying to beat him. Also, people who are
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I love like Joker and Harley, like, are you okay?
Yeah. That's why I had a slight problem when Suicide Squad came out and I saw like pictures of the pair of them couple goals. It's like, no, you don't want a boyfriend like that. And to be fair, you don't really want a girlfriend like that either.
No.
They fit each other, but you need to know why they fit each other.
Yeah. Harley softens a little bit when she gets with Poison Ivy.
Oh yes, I do like that. Like it with Ivy. I like the animated show. I do like her in that.
I love them. I love them in the animated show. They're great together. Granted, I'm not gonna say Harley and Ivy are like perfectly couples goals or perfectly, same.
No, but they're slightly better than Joker.
That's a low bar.
Yeah, it is. It's a very low bar.
Sad to say. Sad to say.
Hmm.
So, is there anything else you would like to say about the comic?
Well, I mean, we got to discuss the ending. It's just.
Oh yes, yes. The ending is the punchline,
right?
Which
For
is
me, the best ending in any comic that's probably ever been, because, I mean, I will say my theory, and I'm just going to say the joke. I am just going to, because I know it off by heart. I do know what it is. Right. Okay. So the ending goes, Batman holds a hand out to Joker and says, I don't know what it was that made you what you are, and I don't really care, but let me help you. Like, let's just stop this. Let me help you. And he just stands up and says, no, we're too far gone. It's too late for them. And he finally tells him what the Killing Joke is. There were two guys who were in a lunatic asylum, and one night they decide they don't want to be in a lunatic asylum anymore, so they decide to escape. So they make it up onto the rooftops, and one guy jumps across, makes it to safety, but the other guy, he doesn't want to jump. He's petrified of falling. So the first guy says, I have a flashlight with me. I'll shine a beam across, and you could just walk along it and join me. And the second guy says, what do you think I am, crazy? You'd only turn it off when I was halfway across. They both share a laugh. It's amazing. It's so great to see Batman laugh. It's hysterical. You see him laugh. You see him put his hands on the Joker. The laughter stops, and the comic ends. And to me, it's very clear what happens. He kills him. Batman does kill him. He breaks his neck. And if you actually read the comic, it's hard to do this without actually showing you the panels, but you can see it's very clear what the joke is. Batman's the guy who jumped to sanity, to a civilization. Joker was afraid of jumping. And he was always going to. Like, this guy is just not going to fit with society. The only thing to do, and of course, finally, the joke is Batman gets it. It's like, what was I doing all these years? What was I doing trying to stop this guy? I should have just killed him.
Yes.
And I'm certain that's the ending. I really am. I'm certain that is what and I know that there's never going to be an answer, and there shouldn't be an answer. It should always be a theory. It should always be, it should always be different ideas. This happened, maybe this didn't happen. But to me, that's how it ends. He breaks his neck, the cops turn up, and they arrest Batman. Well, that's how I see it happening anyway. But to me, that's that comic ending. And I absolutely love it. To me, it is my favorite comic book that's ever been written. The art, the writing, it's absolutely untouchable.
I have always said that why hasn't Batman killed the Joker, like in actual canon? He has killed
Well,
millions.
yeah, that's true. I could be wrong here. I don't know this, but as far as I'm aware, in terms of a comic, I don't think he's ever actually killed him. I don't think that's ever happened.
That's right.
In terms of, I know obviously he killed him in Batman '89, and I guess the closest he got maybe was the Dark Knight Returns, where
Mhm.
I mean he does break his neck. There's no question of that, but
Yeah.
Joker finishes himself off basically. So I guess that's the closest he got, maybe, but I don't think we've ever definitively seen him, shoot him, stab him, rip
This
his
is
heart.
why.
Well, I mean, we see Superman rip his heart out do what once,
Yep.
which was amazing, but I don't think we've ever seen the Bat do that. And to me, this is the closest we'll ever get. This is the closest interpretation to this is him killing him. This is him saying, "I'm done. I'm done trying to save you.
Right.
You're dead."
This is why I'm not a superhero. But to me, the Joker is beyond, and the amount of life.
Yes, he is. He's totally.
He's beyond redemption. Like a lot of Batman's villains are not, and I love that Batman
No.
tries because most of his villains are mentally ill. And yes, the Joker is mentally ill too. But most of Batman's villains are mentally ill and can be redeemed with a lot of help.
Well, I think the fundamental difference is between Joker and most of the others is there is a certain level of sympathy because, again, yes, they are severely mentally. I mean, someone like Two-Face, he has split personality disorder, and then
Yes.
you've got, I guess, someone like Harley, someone like Riddler, who I'm fairly certain we can say has narcissistic personality.
Right.
But this is the difference. Joker knows he's mentally ill. He knows he's nuts.
But
And he goes out and does these things willingly. He knows what he's doing. So you can't blame it on the fact that he's out of his mind because he knows that. And he's still choosing to go out and do these things.
and at some point, Batman continues to let him kill people. He knows he could stop him, and at some point he's complicit, I think. But again, this is why I'm not a superhero.
Well, there is the line, I forget the comic, but there is certainly the line where he says, "How many people have I let die by keeping life?" Oh man, that animated film, that was bad. It's not for it. That was just terrible.
Full disclosure, I did not watch it because I heard reviews and I was
Don't.
pissed.
Keep it that way.
Barbara and Bruce relationship made me sick. That was enough for
Yeah.
me to be like, not watching. No, thank you.
Soon as I saw that, I've always said it, she's what, 16, give or take? Give or take. Wayne's what, 45?
Even if you
Just like,
make her 18, it's not okay.
no, it just isn't.
Shouldn't have-
It was never,
He's friends with her dad.
yeah. It just doesn't come across in any way, shape, or form as a good thing. It just doesn't. It's in no way a good thing.
He put them in a relationship so they could fridge her, essentially, to give him more man pain. And they didn't need to do that because the story had enough punch on its own. Sorry.
I've always said it. The only reason that's in there is to add, it's not a feature-length film. It just isn't. It's about, if you were to really adapt that, it'd be about 45 minutes maybe. But my major issue was you had everything. You had Kevin Conroy. You had Mark Hamill. Why was it so bad? And why did you screw up so badly on that ending? Because the ending is just the part when I wanted the shot, because this is the shot from the comics of the cars pulling up with the beams. It's like, did you read the comic? Like that's the beams from the joke. And then when they get turned off, the flashlight's been turned off, and that's when the light stops. It's like, it's clear what's happened there.
And
Not good.
leaving it questionable is the ending. And
Yes, absolutely.
And I think that's lost on the animation department now.
It's completely lost. I mean, I know for a fact that Alan Moore vehemently stands against adaptations of his work. He doesn't like it. He doesn't stop it, admittedly, but he doesn't take any money for it. So, you've got to weigh that up. But
Wow.
that one especially just did not need to be adapted. Like there was just that one did not need an on-screen adaptation. It's so perfect as a comic. You can't improve perfection. So yeah, just so badly did not need to be adapted into it. Just leave it as the comic. Just tell people to go out there and read that. Re-release that if you have to.
Like they could re-release it as a motion comic and add Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy's voice. Just
it would be okay. That would be perfectly all right. Yeah, the voice acting was fine. That was good.
I have the technology. Do it. Yeah. This is your first time meeting me. I'm sorry. I'm a little intense. Yeah.
I was Joker. Don't worry.
So, is there anything else you would like to share about the comic? Any other feelings?
Is there anything else about that comic I'd like to share? I mean, I'll be honest. I am happy that it's canon. I am. I like that they incorporated other stories into it because it does work amazingly well as an individual story. But yeah, I am happy that it's included in canon, and I like how it mirrors itself. I really do. I love how the opening frames of that comic are the ending, basically, and how he basically says this is going to end with one of us killing one another. And you know, if you believe my theory, and also Grant Morrison's theory, then I believe he does. But I love the way that story.
And accepted for me, by the way. You've convinced me.
Oh, I've always had that theory, but it is shared by quite a few people. What's his name? Grant Morrison does say that on an episode of Batman on Batman with Kevin Smith. So it's shared by a lot of people. And if you read it, I do believe it's there. I do believe that. And Alan Moore's never given a definitive answer. He shouldn't ever give a definitive answer. It should always be up to your own ideas. But in terms of the comic, I just can't recommend more that people go out and read it. I really can't. I've kind of spoiled the entire thing for you. But beforehand, just put in a thing where they say if you haven't read it, just go out there and read it. It is arguably the greatest. It's arguably the greatest Batman Joker story. I can't think of too many more better than that.
No, I feel like it's kind of essential reading if you're a Batman fan or a Joker fan.
It's defined a lot of, to me, I mean, personally, it's defined a lot of Batman multimedia. Like you wouldn't really have, you know, Batman 89, the opening of him falling into the chemicals, all that sort of thing. And the idea that Batman and Joker are basically the same person, just one's a little bit further, one takes things a little bit to the more extreme. And, you know, as we said, Heath Ledger. So it really, the mark that it left was undeniable. It really changed. And to me, it really changed the Batman story, because from there we had comics like The Dark Knight Returns. It made him into what we now associate him with, how dark he is, all that sort of thing, and the pretty harrowing sometimes storylines. So it was amazingly groundbreaking. I'll be honest, I don't think Alan Moore knew what he'd written. I don't think he knew it would become this influential.
Yeah. Also, I've asked this in other episodes, but is Alan Moore okay? Does someone need to give him a hug? I don't think he's okay.
I don't know. He's a weird guy. He's a strange man. He's a genius. I mean, I do believe that. I do believe he's a genius. For me, is he my favorite? He might be my favorite comic writer of all time. He might be. I mean, Watchmen to me is a masterpiece. The Killing Joke is a masterpiece. For the oh Christ, what is the Superman? For the Man Who Has Everything, is that the one?
Mm-hmm. That's a really good.
He is, in terms of writing, he's one of the best there's ever been. But you know, he's a strange guy. He lives in Northampton. He doesn't really leave Northampton anymore, and he's an eccentric. Brits love an eccentric. We do. This is he's a strange sort of wizard type character.
Yes. I think this is the third episode on the Alan Moore property. Yeah, no, this is. So Alan Moore, you're probably not watching this because we have like 10 viewers, but we're giving you a virtual hug because you probably are not okay. Based, yes, he's a genius, but based on the darkness of his properties, I don't think he's okay. This is what.
I mean, you should watch some of his YouTube videos. He's a rap. I'm not making that up. He released a rap video. He does the mandrill videos. They're
I have to watch
mental.
That.
Oh, it's good. It's really good.
I think he's okay though. I think he's got some darkness. I think he needs a hug. So virtual hug.
And some of the stories that he tells as well.
I think he may kind of be a misogynist too, but I still think he needs a virtual hug.
You say that.
He
does stand against that quite vehemently. I've seen videos of him when. Oh yeah, he really does. He really does. He says that. I mean, he even says himself, "I probably wouldn't have written in the Barbara being crippled thing in his more recent work because it goes back to that thing of what's the expression about girls in fridges? Is that the one?
Fridges, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I actually didn't know that. That's good. That makes me feel better. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's down against that now. That's where, like, the Lost Girls, if you watch his videos on Lost Girls, you'll hear, he really isn't. He's a feminist. He cares about women. He does.
Yeah. Well, bless him for that. Still offering the virtual hug either way. Like,
oh, he's still a fucked up guy.
I think he's got some darkness. I think he needs a hug. Whoever's nearest.
You just need to watch you just need to read Watchmen. Don't watch Watchmen. You'll really piss him off. But you just need to read Watch or V for Vendetta to know.
I read Watchmen. We've done a 2-part episode of Watchmen too. So.
Yeah.
But no, I read Watchmen. I know there's some darkness. Alan Moore needs a hug. Whoever's nearest to him, give him a hug. Like
probably Melinda Gibby.
Social distancing guidelines if you're not in his pod, but otherwise give him a hug.
But you've always got Brian Bong, who's very uplifting.
Followers. Well, that's good. Thank you, Henry, for being on the show. This was wonderful. I really appreciate it.
I love doing it. I could talk about this show. I could talk about that comic for hours on end. I could talk for every page, every panel, every quote could be interpreted a different way. But I'm sure you'll put out a little thing beforehand where you say, just get out there and read it. Get out there and read it, and then come back and watch this video, and then
come back and leave comments. Leave comments. Let Henry know what you think. Let me know what you think too. But cheers.
Yes.
Virtual cheers with my almost.
Please do.
Joker.
Chin chin.
Chin chin.
Cheers.
Cheers. So everyone knows Henry is drinking an American beer. I'm proud.
Oh yeah.
Budweiser. Wisconsinites is not Miller, but it's okay. It's okay. Wisconsin.
I like Miller beer. We have that over here.
Yeah, Wisconsinites are very competitive about Miller versus Budweiser, but they'll let it go.